I don't know if it's the system or just like anything, any second year on a job, second year in college, second year in a relationship. It's just a comfort level. I'm glad that they said that. I feel the same way about them. I mean, it's about relationships and developing them, and I think on our side of the ball, I couldn't be more pleased with the staff, the effort that Thig, Charlton, and Brady have put in, and the GAs and the quality controls and the players through the first 10, 12 days of camp, right on schedule, and we just got to keep moving forward, and we still have almost 3 weeks to get ready for our opening game.
Brady Hoke said he looks forward to going against the triple option attack. Do you?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's fun. I've always said this, being a defensive coordinator in college football or being a defensive coach in college football is arguably one of the toughest jobs in all sports because of the variety of offenses that you have to face with the minimal time to prepare for them. So I actually like the fact that it is the opening game because it gives you a little more time to prepare for them. We certainly spent time in the winter, spring, summer, and camp preparing for Georgia Tech, but also other styles of offense as well.
Who's leading the competition at wheel linebacker?
Just probably based on experience, Cortez McDowell, but Elliott Berry's had a good camp thus far. It's good to have Cortez Sapp back and Austin Smith. They're both getting their, again, when we talk about all the guys that we missed last year, but people forget some of the non-starters that weren't able to play last year. Both those guys missed the entire year, so getting those guys back, getting them back in the swing of things has been very, very positive. But I'd say those 4 guys have actually performed, really, really well.
Are any of those younger corners getting looks at nickel behind Rashawn?
Terrell Bailey is right now running the 3rd nickel. At the nickel, it's been Rashawn, who's had an excellent camp, by the way, probably playing the best football I've seen him play. Balin's behind him, Balin Buchanan. If it were a game situation, we'd probably end up having the opportunity. If something happened, we could put Mike Abernathy there. He's played that in the past, and Terrell. Of the 3 young corners, they've all done very, very well. They give great effort. They're as advertised as people. Schamberger's the one guy we think has a chance to maybe make some contributions at corner right now. He's probably a little bit ahead of the other guys.
What kind of would be Dalton's role in that Georgia Tech game if you guys play 3 linebackers?
You'll have to watch. Certainly, I think one of the things you do as a coach, you want to put your best players on the field, and Rashawn, we feel, is one of our best players, so we have a plan to play him.
So he is a guy that you guys are
He's gonna play,
moving around.
Mm-hmm.
Do you appreciate playing Georgia Tech in the opener versus game 2 or 3 or 7 or 8?
Yes. I think, like I said, it just gives you a little bit more time to prepare for them. The triple option's challenging to prepare for with just a traditional weekly schedule. So I think playing those guys in the opening game, if you're going to play them, let's play them in the opening game, and I think that gives us a little bit of time to prepare. And the guys are focused and they're locked in, and I think they're looking forward to that.
How are the safeties shaking out so far?
Yeah, I think, the 4 veterans have all had their moments in camp and been very good. Probably the most consistent performer has been Micah. It's good to have, obviously we didn't have Micah Abernathy or Evan Berry in the spring, so to have those guys back has been great. They're both really good athletes and explosive, and Micah was a consistent performer for us last year. Todd's steady, TK's been very, very steady. If there's one guy who's probably emerged that I maybe didn't expect to, it's Theo Jackson. As a freshman, he's got a composure about him, got high football intellect. The game is just not too fast for him. He asks 200-level questions in meetings, and I think Charlton and I are both really, really pleased with his progress so far.
When you went back and kind of watched the film and self-evaluated this offseason, what did you guys kind of determine that he didn't go as planned in the red zone specifically last year? Because you guys were good at forcing turnovers, creating tackles for loss, but the red zone defense was an area that was a little bit of a struggle at times.
Yeah, we evaluated that like we evaluated everything. I mean, you evaluate your personnel, you evaluate your system, and then you evaluate situational football. What were we good at on 1st and 10? What were we good at on 3rd down? What were we good at in the red zone? Were we good at creating takeaways? Were we good at sacking the quarterback or creating tackles for loss? I mean, so we've tweaked a little bit of some of the, to me, the compete zone or the red zone is a little less about X's and O's and a little more about mindset, and that's what we talk about to the guys playing defense, not defenses. But we've tweaked a couple of our base defenses in the red zone, and I think we've had more success, in the spring, and even more so in training camp, with some of the things we did in the red zone. But you're 100% right. We have to do a much better job. I think red zone stats are a little deceptive. I've always said this about the NCAA because they don't they don't they go red zone scoring percentage, and it doesn't distinguish whether you give up a field goal or touchdown in red zone statistics. So we look at every red zone situation as worth 7 points. If we can create a takeaway, if you miss a field goal, if we stop you on downs, we win 7-0. If we hold you to a field goal, we feel we win that situation 4-3, and if they score a touchdown, then we lose that situation 0-7. So we have to do a better job creating takeaways, hunting the ball. We have to do a better job forcing teams to kick field goals. We have to do a better job blocking the field goals in.
Applying those numbers, how did it shake out last year? Do you know?
Yeah, it still wasn't very good, but it's not as bad as what an NCAA stat might show, because we gave up a ton of field goals in the red area.
Is it, have you guys focused more on situational football more than maybe you did last camp, or is it
not more?
Just
no, I mean same. I mean, each coach is one thing we've probably done a little bit differently, and I think it's been very, very positive. Is you try to keep the players stimulated, so we've used a different voice a lot of times rather than me just presenting or something along those lines. Brady's been a head coach and spoken in front of teams at San Diego State, Ball State, and Michigan. He's been a coordinator. Charlton's been a coordinator. He's an Air Force Academy graduate. Thiggs handled our, each time situations come up, a coach is responsible for that situation. He's presented to the group, which I think's helped maybe emphasize it. And then we've done it in practice and reinforced the message and things like that. So not more, but maybe differently how we've done it.
DeAndre Johnson still out front at the number 4 defensive end.
Yeah, that's about where he is right now. Jonathan, Kyle, and Daryl, we're very, very excited about, and DeAndre's that 4th guy right now, and he, he's an early enrollee. He went through all the things in the spring. I think he understands how we expect things, and he's actually had a pretty good camp so far.
How many defensive linemen are you comfortable with playing?
More than last year, yeah. And he and I have talked about that. We need to. That was an error last season, I thought, and part of it was injuries. I get that, but we need to play guys. And again, I'm not using as an excuse we wore down at the end of the year. Injuries contributed to that, but there's things we could have done differently, rotating guys a little bit better than we did, because guys just played too many snaps. And I think you saw, I think, you can go through it on your own. And Jimmy, you and I have talked about this. I mean, up until the last handful of games, we were competitive, we were formidable, and then, we struggled a little bit and we limped home at the finish. And then you saw, with a couple weeks off in preparation for Nebraska, we arguably played our best game. And that's not an excuse. I promise it's not an excuse. It's my responsibility. So we've talked about playing more guys. Like you're talking about the safety position. Someone just asked about that. We don't talk about having a first and second group at safety. We got a bunch of guys who can start at safety. Nigel and Evan have played very well this camp. You asked about Will linebacker. We've got a bunch of guys who can play there. We may not have that Derek Barnett or Cam Sutton or Jalen Reeves-Maben, but we got a lot of guys who there's not a lot of significant drop-off between the 1 and the 2 anymore. And that really is kind of exciting to me.
Patrick?
Yeah, you're up. You got to be up, man. Now you forgot your question.
Yeah, I kind of did. Is Austin still kind of the guy at the same spot, or are you guys still?
Austin Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah, he and and we were going to have to play some base defense against obviously Georgia Tech and some of the early opponents. But he and Dylan Bates have both done a pretty good job this camp playing that position. Yes.
Is that the only 2 guys who are getting looks there?
Yeah, right now.
Khalil McKenzie, what kind of camp has he had?
He's been okay. The inside guys, Khalil's had a solid camp. Kendall Vickers is the leader of that group up front. I mean, he's really been, he's as good a player as he's a better person, and he just comes to work every day. You know what you're going to get with him. That's what I like about him. Shai continues to improve every day from a health perspective. And then, looking forward to hopefully getting Quay back. And Alexis Johnson's been pretty good during the course of camp, too. So those are the guys inside. And the freshmen that are in there, Butler's swung back and forth between end and tackle and done a pretty good job. And Kavon Bennett's done a pretty good job, made a little bit of an impression, too. So these next few days will be really important to see whether those guys are going to end up being redshirt guys or whether they're going to be in the rotation.
Colton Jumper was bragging about Will Ignat, how well he has looked at linebacker. Your thoughts on Ignat so far?
Colton said he was worried about it, or
no? He said he's.
Oh yeah.
He's doing really well.
I like our depth at Mike. Batuli's obviously not been 100%, but that's provided Will Ignat an opportunity. Kirkland these last few days has really stepped up to where we would expect him to be. Jumper's had a great camp. Really done well. Ignat. He's an alpha male. He's got some of that it factor to him. He's highly football intelligent. He's very confident out there. He's absolutely 100% making freshman mistakes. But at the same time, you can see that it's not too big for him. And I'm not sure if it'll be in 2017, but I think, you know, the Tennessee football fans have a pretty good player for the future right now.